on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Checkwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is going to be a review of the WWE Hall of Fame Class of 2019. And typically when you watch a Hall of Fame, there's really not a lot to review. There's not a lot going on. The couple of things in this one changed that. One thing I thought was interesting is only half of the inductees actually had somebody induct them. At least 3 of the people had no presenter for them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm just going to run through real quickly everything that happened. And one thing that really pissed a lot of people off, and we'll get to that in a second. You start out with the Honky Tonk Man, his induction, and he's presented by Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart gives a pretty quick speech, brings out the Honky Tonk Man, and you know, Honky Tonk Man's thanking everybody, of course, throughout his career that's helped him. Names, you know, a few names like Hogan, of course, Jimmy Hart, but doesn't really get into a lot of people you would expect, honestly. It talks about how he got his gimmick. Closes with him doing a version of the Honky Tonk Man, the actual theme song that he had. And it kind of falls apart, you know, you can tell it's been a while for him. But that was interesting. But that was it. The next inductee is Tori Wilson, and she is brought out by Stacy Keibler. And it was actually cool to see Stacy Keibler back in the WWE, because I don't think she's been back for anything since she left. And Tori Wilson, you know, she was given the speech of how this kid, at one point she was interested in, called her fat and stuff like that, and she had made a vow to, you know, make him regret that, and all the hard work she had put in and stuff like that. And it was actually kind of a nice speech. Like, I really thought that it was very cool, very heartfelt. So, you know, she admitted that she was probably hired more for eye candy than she was her wrestling ability. And I thought that was cool that, you know, she had the intestinal fortitude to be so forthcoming, so real about everything. And one thing she said was she realized that she was a part of everybody's puberty, you know, all the guys growing up. I thought that was really funny, because she said something about being a part of your life and apparently a part of everybody's puberty. That was pretty funny. That was a good line. And she also at one point had said that her dad had unfortunately passed 2 days later, so it was a really turbulent time for her, you know. The speech started really good and stuff, and toward the end when she started unveiling, you know, the fact that her dad passed, obviously she was really upset. So that's a hell of a 48 or 36 hours for her. So, you know, you had to feel for her. And God, she still came there with the family, so that was, you know, that was a moment. I mean, I'm sure he would have loved to have been there and seen her. Couldn't imagine that one. So, so far things are going really good, and then you have the next inductees, which are the Hart Foundation, and they did not have a presenter for the Hart Foundation. It was Natalia, who came out for her father, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Bret Hart. And during the presentation, Natalia's talking first, and then Bret Hart starts talking, and some idiot in a dread wig runs into the ring, and everything goes black. The screen goes black, and then it kind of cuts back, and it just shows the crowd reacting to what's going on. Well, I saw what happened after the show. I actually went on, and there was a bunch of things posted where you actually saw this idiot not just jump into the ring, he actually charges Bret Hart, tackles him, and slams him to the ground. Immediately, there are a bunch of wrestlers on top of this moron and beating the holy hell out of him, and thank God. You had David Hart Smith, or whatever his name is, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. He jumps into the ring, he's beating this dude like he's throwing bows. Dash Wilder is there, he is slamming this dude's face too. And I'm not really, like in my later years, I used to be really aggressive, but now I'm not exactly one for violence. But if you do violent acts, you expect violent ends. And that's just common sense, especially when you're doing it in such a public format with this guy's friends, family, people that look up to him all around him. And it's another thing to do something like this to a 61-year-old guy whose body has been put through hell. You know, he's not aged well because of his wrestling career. He's had a stroke. And that's the guy you go after to tackle? This guy deserved his ass beat. I'm sorry, I don't usually condone violence, but I was very happy when I saw Dash Wilder sneak up to this dude after everybody had already gotten a hold of him, bashed him in the face. I was so happy. Um, he deserved his ass beat. No excuses for that. And for Bret Hart himself, he actually handled it with a lot of class. He waited for everything to calm down. He came back up to the podium. He finished his speech. True champ about it. Like, he was really cool. And what more can you say about that incident? I mean, it was just despicable. So I'm really glad that he got what he had coming to him. And Bret Hart was talking about heels, and he's like, you know, like this dude back here, referring to the guy that just jumped in the ring, getting heel heat. So that was kind of funny that he actually even used it to play off of. A lot of respect for Bret Hart for that, honestly, because that would have pissed anybody off. Um, so at the end of the day, you know, the speech itself was very cool. I mean, if you focus on just that, Bret Hart, you know, he was recanting the Hart Foundation, easy for me to say, right? Hart Foundation's formation, and really, you know, how they started to get recognized as a team. And I thought that was very cool. You know, gave a lot of props to Jim Neidhart. And I really liked it. I really liked that, you know, he was able to keep his composure, focus on the task at hand, you know, showing his respect to Jim Neidhart. I thought it was all very cool. So after that, you have Hulk Hogan comes out and inducts Brutus Beefcake. And Hulk Hogan doing his shtick, but talking about how Brutus was his friend and how he'd been, you know, by his side through his parents' deaths and that terrible parasailing accident. And so Brutus Beefcake, you know, he comes out and he's, you know, doing his typical shtick, thanking everybody, thanking the fans, the people that helped him in his career, and acknowledging himself that, you know, he almost died during that parasailing accident. And I gotta say, that takes a lot to come back to wrestling after that. I think that's very cool. So, you know, I thought it was kind of an interesting choice to, you know, have him in the Hall of Fame. But he did have a pretty big impact on the business. I mean, when you think about it. So I thought it was fitting. And he did give a pretty good speech about things, so that was cool. Then Dana Warrior comes out, and she's going to induct the next Warrior recipient, who is Sue Aitchison. And she explains who exactly Sue is, and she works with WWE and actually for WWE behind the scenes, and she's the one who typically organizes the Make-A-Wish thing. And so that was cool, and of course they bring out John Cena before they bring her out to help sell, you know, the importance of this woman. And so she comes out and she's making a list of all wrestlers, like past and present, that have, you know, really helped kids battling cancer and given them memories that'll last, you know, in her words, forever. Some who have died, some who have recovered and gone on to live happy, healthy lives. And so I thought that was very, very cool. I'm a big fan of that aspect of WWE. Really more than anything, you know, the fact that they go out and they're dealing directly with these, you know, very young cancer patients and giving them something to hold on to. I think that's very awesome. So, I mean, regardless of whether you like seeing her a lot in the ring as a character, whatever, you gotta respect the fact that he does that. And it was funny when John Cena came out, the crowd's immediately chanting face Kurt Angle. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he didn't acknowledge that at all. Like, he didn't say anything. He didn't, you know. So kind of cool though. I like that. Next up, the inductees were Harlem Heat, and again they had no presenter. And Booker T and Stevie Ray, they come out and they're talking very candidly, especially Booker T, about his past, his life, and going to prison, their parents dying young, and the struggles they've had. And I thought it was actually really touching at times, and it was very cool to see two brothers standing up there, literally living their life in the public eye, since coming to wrestling. And it was very, very cool. I really liked it. Stevie Ray, kind of chimed in and gave his description of how they became to be so popular. And it was nice. I was always a big fan of Harlem Heat and Booker T. So, very cool moment. And then the last was, of course, D-Generation X. They come out and non-stop jokes beginning to end. They had some very serious moments in there. But, they started with jokes. They ended with a lot of fun and a lot of jokes in between. And thankfully, they didn't really shy away from China, and I didn't think they would, considering, they're inducting D-Generation X, and they talked directly about her, which I thought was very cool. Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, and Triple H all directly talked about her. So I thought it was nice that they did that. And the rest of it was mainly, thanking family and friends and stuff like that, talking about the Clique and how important they were. Of course, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were mentioned a few times. And so it was cool. It was a very cool way to close it out. I mean, obviously they were a huge staple and, really changed the game in a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, they deserve their own headline for sure. At least in my opinion. And some of the jokes in there, like, you just have to watch it, man. I don't want to get into everything, but it was hilarious. Like, there were times where you just, like, I had family in the other room. I was over at, other family's house, and I was trying to be quiet because I was watching this, they had me over for supper. And there were just some laugh out loud moments like I just couldn't stifle. So it's a good moment. So, and that was the way they closed out the show. I thought it was excellent. Overall, it was a very good show. I'm not typically into the Hall of Fame as far as the presenter speech. It can be a little bit dull. This really was not. It was either kept very entertaining, very heartfelt. You had, unfortunately, the one incident where it was like, holy shit, what's going on? But I felt like that was terrible. That was just so disrespectful. I really hope that guy wakes up in a jail cell hurting like hell. But, from there, it's, it is what it is. It was entertaining for a Hall of Fame ceremony. It really was. Definitely something that kept you on your edge. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Hall of Fame 2019. Honky Tonk Man, Tori Wilson, Hart Foundation, Bruce Beefcake, Sue Aitchison, Harlem Heat, D-Generation X. I thought it was a really good lineup. Everybody that spoke very well, and they told really cool stories, very clear and concise, and he didn't really have anybody up there bumbling around. X-Pac was really nervous, but even when he was nervous, and he admitted that he was, he still was entertaining, to be very honest. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So it was very cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I suggest if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Try not to pay too much attention to some asshole running into the ring to attack a 61-year-old guy not in the best health. That's the most I can say about that. And that is my review. I don't know that I would normally give this a score, but if I had to give this a score, we'll say an 8 out of 10. I was entertained. And for a Hall of Fame ceremony, what more can you ask for? So that's my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comments. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe, share, like. Kaged Nation out.